What's going on YouTube? It's TH back again with another video, and today we're talking about the Green Bay Packers in our season preview series. Hopefully you will enjoy today's video. If you do, be sure to hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new around here, want to see more of this series, just hit that big red subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, leave a comment, tell me what you think about the Packers this upcoming season, how many wins you think they come away with, who are some X factors, and some games you're looking forward to watching this team play. How do you feel about the wide receiver room? How good can this defense be? Anything you can talk about with Green Bay. Love to hear your thoughts, and I respond to just about every comment. So let's talk about the Packers down below. If you're new to this series, welcome to it. Hopefully you all enjoy, and if you do, be sure to go back and check out some of those older videos in this series, get you geared up and ready to roll for the upcoming NFL season. I'll also give you a deeper breakdown of what I'm talking about in each and every bullet point, but I'll quickly hit on that as we move along. Let's start with my win range and projected win total, and then I'll kind of give you an in-depth, my thought of the roster, position group by position group. 11 to 15, I'm kind of thinking 12 and 5 is probably the sweet spot. I currently have them at 13 and 4. Maybe we'll change that in my updated, record predictions video, which is going to come out the date of the regular season opener between the Bills and Rams. So hopefully you're looking forward to that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. But 13 and 4 is kind of where I have at right now. And who am I to say Matt LaFleur can't make it 4 straight years of winning 13 games? He's proven to be one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And hey, let's talk about this roster while we're here. Aaron Rodgers back-to-back MVP winner for a reason. He's great. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I love the running back position. Aaron Jones is my guy. I've always been a big fan of him. And then, A.J. Dillon's become a nice pro. So we'll see about David Bakhtiari and that injury. Hopefully he's able to stay and suit up for the entire year for the Packers, because he's maybe the best pass-protecting left tackle in the league. But you also have Elton Jenkins, and then even the interior. Feeling pretty good about the way this team looks there. Royce Newman getting another year of experience. Josh Myers going into year 2. And John Runyon. And then he's backed up by an incoming rookie. And then you also have Zach Toms, who could be a nice swing tackle, nice late-round pick coming out of Wake Forest, who I thought could easily become a day 2 pick. They get him in, I think, the 5th round. So really solid draft value there. I'm feeling good about the offensive line and its talent, but also with its depth. And then, again, I'm not going to try to talk about the wide receiver room too long. We'll talk about one of those guys later, but Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, whoever it is, someone's got to step up, because not only are you replacing Devontae Adams, but you're also replacing MVS. And I think Watson is a bit of a better, fill-in guy for that MVS role. But the same can be said about Romeo Doubs, who we'll talk about later. So, who becomes that on 3rd and 8? I can rely on this guy for getting open and moving the chains. There's nothing to say this team doesn't go after OBJ. I totally think that could be plausible. I'm leaning towards him going back to the Rams, but I could see the Packers coming in with a sweetened offer and trying to steal him away from the Rams. Those were the final 2 teams that he was choosing between last year when he was a free agent. So don't rule that out, but as it stands right now, Sammy Watkins is going to have a year that he hasn't had in a while. And Allen Lazard is going to have to be more than what he's been in years past. So very interesting. I'll leave it at that. Enough has been said about this wide receiver room in Green Bay. You've heard enough of it. I've heard enough of it. They're going to need someone to step up. And they are aided by the fact that, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back time, MVP winner. He's one of the best that's ever done it. He'll make those guys look better. Robert Tonyan's, fine, a tight end, he gets the job done. Switching sides, this defense might be the best that Rodgers had. Definitely the best since his Super Bowl year in 2010. I would argue the talent on paper is probably a little better. Across, the defensive line, Dean Lowry coming off a solid year. Kenny Clark, a really nice nose tackle. They add Jaron Reed, who has had a couple of rough years towards the end of his tenure in Seattle and then Kansas City. But you also draft Devontae Wyatt, who is very much not, a Packers type of draft prospect. One of the oldest guys they drafted at 24 in a long time. At least in my lifetime, I can't really remember anybody that old. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for a team that's trying to win now. I think he can step in and be an improvement over Jaron Reed, or if something happens to Dean Lowry, step in and fill that role. I think really Reed is kind of the extra guy, based off of how, solid and productive Lowry was last year, and who I think Devontae Wyatt can be. Very good, front, defensive front for this team. And then, 3-4, so those are your 3. Let's run through the 4, in that middle part. The edge rushers, we'll talk about Preston Smith a little bit later. He's a little iffy, but Rashawn Gary, ton of credit. This guy who they took at the 12th overall pick, bit of a project, but awesome athlete, and he has developed into the next, big-time edge rusher for the Green Bay Packers. Can he make it back-to-back years? That's a question mark, but if he plays anything like he did last year, they have edge 1, if you want to call it that. And then the inside linebacker spot is going to be a fun one to watch, because this was a team that led the league in dime packages last year, where they only had Devondre Campbell on the field, and he's one of the best linebackers in football. And now you add in a Quay Walker, who's this unreal athlete. College football history. Little raw, had a great defensive line in front of him, kind of keeping him clean. But what does Quay Walker, kind of develop into? And playing alongside, many people comped Quay Walker to Devondre Campbell, and now they're playing side by side. So since you draft a guy in the first round, I'm assuming there's going to be less dime packages. And, the point behind the Quay Walker was to make the role of Devondre Campbell a little easier. They did sign him to a 5-year, $50 million extension, too. So it's not just like Devondre Campbell's going to be gone by the wayside. That's a long-term fixture in their eyes. So I'm assuming we're going to see more nickel and both those linebackers on the field. And, how does that play out? But there's a lot of talent to work with there. And then you get to the secondary. And, damn, this might be the best secondary in football, man. We'll talk about Eric Stokes later, but Jair Alexander missed a ton of last year, but when last we saw him, a top 2 cornerback in the league, at least top 3, pretty comfortably. And then, Rasul Douglas is coming off a career year. Is he back in the nickel? Okay, great. And then you talk about this safety duo, Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos. 2 guys that have very different skill sets. I think they have some overlap. I think you can rotate Amos down in the box. I think Savage has a good enough athletic, ability to be a guy you can play in coverage, but Amos has your deep coverage safety, and then Savage coming down in the box, laying the boom, being a force at the line of scrimmage and in front of the first down marker. That's just a great duo, but I also think you can do a lot more with it. This was a team that under then first year DC, now going to second year Joe Barry, a lot of cover 4, a lot of 2 high. I think those 2 work as a pairing up top too. So awesome secondary. The roster's fantastic. Again, the question mark is that wide receiver room. Realistic goal, reach goal are what they sound like. So realistic goal, reach the divisional round. Maybe that's, getting the number 1 seed in the NFC, having a first round bye. That's totally in the cards. Or it's winning a game in the wild card round and getting to the divisional round by virtue of earning it. So totally think this team can do it. As much as I am a little, skeptical about what that wide receiver position, how big of a downgrade they're getting compared to where they were last year. Aaron Rodgers, one of the best that's ever done it. Matt LaFleur is a great offensive mind. He knows how to scheme people open. So I still see this as one of the best teams in the NFC, so there's no reason this team can't make it to the divisional round, maybe even further. Then reach goal, of course, win the Super Bowl. I think there's about 2 handfuls worth of teams, maybe a little bit more than that. I feel like I'm saying that a ton this year, but with the arms race in the AFC, and then you cherry pick your couple of NFC teams you think can do it. There's probably about 2 handfuls, maybe a little bit more, of teams I think legitimately wouldn't surprise me if they won the Super Bowl, hoisted the Lombardi at the end of the season once we got to early February. And Green Bay would totally be one of those teams that I put in that category. So, again, you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Anything's possible. And great head coach and a really solid roster, great defense on their side. Yeah, this team totally should be aiming for the Super Bowl. And if it's not, then I don't see why this team would be trying to make the long-term moves of having to move on from a Devontae Adams and then turning that into 2 first-round picks and bolstering that defense, and then moving up to go grab a Christian Watson because they believe in him and think he could be that next, big time. He kind of fits that mold of, 6'3 plus, project wide receiver. You go back to Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams. They've kind of had that niche of a wide receiver they like, and Christian Watson could totally be the next one of those guys. So Super Bowl should totally be on the mark. This is a team that's been very, very clear in making their presence and intentions known from off seasons past. And, trying to hold on to Aaron Rodgers in and of itself is such a signal that, yeah, Super Bowl is what they got their mind on. So let's move on to some X factors here, and these are not superstars. So don't comment saying, well, Aaron Rodgers should be an X factor. Well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, superstar, man. He's going to be good. Jair Alexander's an X factor. Well, if he's healthy, he's one of the best corners in football. Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos, I love those guys. I'm not going to put him on here. Devondre Campbell was the best linebacker in football last year. Why would he be an X factor? So these are guys I think make a 50-50 difference. And you might argue with me about Preston Smith, but I'll be able to back that one up. But these are the guys I think if they exceed expectations, this team can do the same. If they fall short, the team will do the same. So these are the guys I think are the true difference makers, and that's why I call them my X factors. So let's start with Romeo Doubs. He was on my breakout video. A ton of hype. Might be the hottest name coming out of training camp. Now, take that with a grain of salt. Depends on how much you care about, training camp buzz from beat reporters and whatnot. But even coming out of the draft, go back to my very first big board. He was in my top 30, top 32. I saw him as a guy who could be a potential, first round pick, and I was, talking up him and Carson Strong's connection. And what Romeo Doubs did at Nevada for Carson Strong, in a lot of ways, is exactly what I want him to be doing for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Be that vertical guy. Run, goes, posts, and comebacks. If you only ran those 3 routes, I'd be content with it. And it sounds like he's been able to put up that type of production at Green Bay, Green Bay's training camp. So if he adds that downfield threat, it makes it a little interesting. What do you use Watson for then? But if he becomes that vertical threat, replaces Marquez Valdez-Scantling, okay, boom, there's one role filled. And I totally think Romeo Doubs can be that guy. And as much as Aaron Rodgers learned to play within, it was Nathaniel Hackett. Now it's going to be a different, different OC in the building, but it's Matt LaFleur's offense. As much as he's learned to play within that, work with the rhythm of the offense, take those checkdowns, work the underneath stuff, it's still Aaron Rodgers. He's looking for big plays. He's looking to throw bombs, and Romeo Doubs, I think, totally could be on the other end receiving and hauling in those bombs and taking them to the end zone. So big fan of him. I think a great value in the 4th round. Kind of caught a guy who was falling by product of Carson Strong also falling. And because of that, again, I think great draft value and a guy I think could step in and maybe be more productive day one than Christian Watson. And then we get to Preston Smith. So guy who's coming off an awesome season. I don't take that away from him. You're talking about Pro Football Focus grade here, 81.5 overall grade, and then a pass rush grade at 76.3. But look at the 2 years before that. 66.5 grade in 2019, and then 55.5 in 2020. And then, pretty solid year in 2018, 76.3. And even before that, though, mid-60s grading. This is a guy who has been up and down, to say the least. What Preston Smith are you going to get this year? Because you moved on from Za'Darius Smith, and he had his injury concerns. He was asking for a lot of money. I understand. But not only are you rolling out with Preston Smith, you extended him. And now he's the guy who's going to be supposed to be the complement to Rashawn Gary on the other side. Can he step up? Can he be consistent? Can he do that 2 years in a row? Because to this point in his career, he has not been, above average 2 years in a row. He's been kind of meh. Then he had an above average year, meh for a couple more years, and then he had a pretty solid year last year, maybe the best year of his career last year. So can he build upon that? Can he continue that trend? Hasn't done it so far in this career. Not to say that it can't happen. I'm also a big Kingsley Enagbare guy. I totally saw him as a day 2 guy, 2nd, 3rd round pick. He ultimately falls and becomes another day 3 steal. Honestly, if you were to take Green Bay's draft last year and just remove the 2nd round, say they didn't get Christian Watson, and it was just Devonta Wyatt, Quay Walker in the 1st round, and then Kingsley Enagbare, Zach Toms, Romeo Doubs, all those day 3 guys, I still probably would have given this a B+ to an A, but they did that plus, got Christian Watson in the 2nd round and made some other stuff happen on day 2. So just a tremendous draft. And maybe Kingsley Enagbare could be the next project guy they work with. And maybe he's a guy who, if Preston Smith is slacking, not meeting expectation, maybe Kingsley Enagbare gets on the field a little earlier than expected. But I think he needs to add a few more moves. So maybe he's someone you don't really want to roll out till the end of the year, or maybe really even in year 2. So big role ahead of Preston Smith. Can he make it back-to-back years? It's the first time in his career where he's uber productive and above average player 2 years in a row. Can he do it? Green Bay is definitely relying on him being able to do just that. And then Eric Stokes going into year 2, and you look at the Pro Football Focus grade, it's nothing like over the moon, but considering the struggles most rookie cornerbacks have, it was really nice to see Eric Stokes and his skill set transfer really well from Georgia to Green Bay, especially considering Georgia ran a ton of man coverage. And cover 4, you're kind of playing off man. You have your lane in front of you and behind you. It's similar enough, but the things that stuck out watching Packers play last year, and Eric Stokes in specific, the speed translated, and he has that sticky man coverage ability. So when playing cover 4, that guy in cross room, he's got, that did translate big time. So it's great to see those skill sets, come from college and be able to stick, and you can see it at the NFL level. Now it's just, year 2, he's going to get better, and he'll have Jair Alexander on the other side too, which makes that secondary improved across the board, and it just elevates the play of everybody. So I just think Eric Stokes is only going to be better. I really can't see him having a year 2 slump. I just can only see him getting better. Now, I say that, and knock on wood for Packers fans, but I expect a pretty solid showing from Eric Stokes. And again, if he's your CB2 opposite of Jair Alexander, you're talking about Rasul Douglas coming off a career year, by far the best year of his career. He's playing in the nickel. That's an awesome secondary to go with those safeties. Let's talk about some games to watch, then we'll get you out of here. Week 3 at Tampa Bay. Of course, this could potentially be the NFC, conference championship game. A lot of people's eyes, these are the best 2 teams in the NFC, so this totally makes sense as a game to watch. And I also want to put this disclaimer out. I don't put division games in the games to watch. Of course, those have a ton of importance, and those are games to watch. But, Brady versus Rodgers, need I say more? That's a game to watch. And then, I said this in the Lions video, the last one to come out before this. I hate putting the Bills on everything, all these games to watch, but they're one of the best teams in football, and this is Sunday Night Football. Good point, middle of the season. Where is Green Bay at? Week 3, it might take a little bit more time for Rodgers to work out the chemistry and with those wide receivers, and for the offense in and of itself to finalize the role for each of those guys. Hey, Allen Lazard's gonna be this guy for us, and Romeo Doubs gonna be this guy, and Christian Watson's gonna get some snaps doing this for us. So it might take some time. By week 8, you gotta have that figured out, because now you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, we gotta start playing some playoff caliber football, and we're a Super Bowl contender. We gotta start playing some Super Bowl level football if we want to get hot bring that play into the playoffs. So week 8's a huge point, but it's also a battle between two of the best teams in the league, and it's on prime time television. So if the Bills mop the floor with the Packers, people are going to talk about it. If it's the other way around, people are going to talk about it. So obviously a ton of gravitas around that game. And then week 16 at Miami. And this is not necessarily a game that, I don't think this is a Super Bowl preview. I mean, it could be, but I don't think that's likely. This is a game that's interesting because of the weakness for Green Bay. This will be the last time, obviously, you're going to hear me harp on this, but how does that wide receiver room compare against Xavier Howard and Byron Jones? Like, is Allen Lazard able to shake Byron Jones? Can Sammy Watkins get open against Xavier Howard? This is the game where it's got to show. That or, like, Aaron Jones has got to go bonkers. And I haven't really talked about Aaron Jones when it comes to the receiving game, but that's a huge part of his skill set. And, maybe that becomes a huge part of the offense, using him more as a receiver and trying to work matchups against linebackers and safeties and nickel corners in and of itself. So that's totally possible. But if the wide receivers can't get open against Miami, this could be one of those weird games where you look at the Dolphins, you look at the Packers on paper and say, yeah, well, the Packers have a better roster, but the Dolphins won. Why is that? So keep in mind, Baker, despite how much hate he got last year, Browns with Baker beat the Bengals 41-16 at one point last year. There was one point the Jags beat the Bills without scoring a touchdown last year. So weird games happen, and late in the year, this could be a random game that kind of stalls some maybe late season momentum the Packers are making getting ready for the postseason because the wide receivers can't get open, and then maybe that creates a blueprint for how you beat Green Bay. Which now, granted, if it takes having two awesome corners as your CB duo to slow down those wide receivers, then that's a hard blueprint to replicate, and it's probably something that a lot of people already know. That's why I'm talking about it so much. So just an interesting matchup, and one, kind of a game where you don't think of the Miami Dolphins as good as Green Bay, but they may match up with them perfectly in one way. So really interested to see how that game goes. Plus, it's late in the year. Green Bay's going to be trying to covet and build up more momentum as they get closer and closer to the playoffs, and this could be an important game. It's going to be close between them, Tampa, the Rams, maybe, for that number one seed in the NFC, and any stumble late could cost you. So those are my games to watch, and that's going to do it for my Green Bay Packers season preview. Tell me what you think about the Pack down below in the comment section. How many wins do you think they get? Who are some X Factors, not superstars, but X Factors? And what are some games you're looking forward to watching this team play? Love to have your thoughts and to respond to just about every comment. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, seriously, it would help me out a ton if you hit that like button. And if you're new around here, want to help us get closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers, it would mean the world to me if you hit that big red subscribe button. That's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.